of that, it's time to get today's big news stories. We've got Camilla, Tominey, and editor of Birmingham Live, new to the show, Graeme Brown. Welcome, Graeme.
Hello.
For the first time. So the Queen has pulled out of the state opening of Parliament. A statement from Buckingham Palace says the Queen continues to experience episodic mobility problems and, in consultation with her doctors, has reluctantly decided that she will not attend the state opening of Parliament. First time since 1963 that she's missed this constitutional ceremony. And this is this ongoing... I can only imagine how frustrating this must be for her, because she is well, but has mobility issues.
Yes. So I think she's got problems with her hips, problems with her knees, and that's quite historic. She had some cartilage removed from her knees in 2002, and she continued horse riding, and so that hasn't helped the situation. Don't forget she was horse riding as recently as 2020. I think the point is that if she's required to walk long distances and sit down and stand up and sit down and stand up, then that's going to really take its toll. Also, she's 96. So the last-minute nature of this announcement reflects the fact that she desperately wants to be front and centre of these events. Yeah. Lots of talk this morning about, well, is this a Prince Regency in all but name because Prince Charles has stepped in? And there is an unprecedented nature to that, because typically when she missed the state opening in the past because she was pregnant with Andrew and Edward, the Lord Chancellor stepped in. So she's created what's called a letters patent to ensure that her son and heir can do the honours. That seems like a transition, and also the fact that Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, is going to be there. But then for the past few years, we've seen this kind of triumvirate of the monarch, her heir, the second in line, all working together for a common purpose. And I think people think that's...
that Prince William would... I could expect, obviously, Prince Charles would be the next thing to do.
Yeah.
But why would Prince William be there?
Well, because he's a councillor of state, so he's got a right to be there, as has the Duchess of Cornwall, that she's there in a different capacity as a future Queen consort. But it's because we've seen increasingly, not least after the Duke of Edinburgh passed away, Prince William rising through the ranks and playing that supporting role. Don't forget as well, we're in uncharted territory here. It was only yesterday that she became the third longest reigning monarch in history. So we've not really dealt with a situation where a monarch is on the throne at the age of 96. And therefore, this is a case with William of, like, bringing in the reinforcements.
Yeah, and I suppose ultimately they're family. So you'd like to think that, you know, I'm trying to put it on a very basic, unregal level, but if you can't do it, you'd like to think that family would step in ultimately, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's interesting how they've PR'd this, though, because, I mean, yes, on the face of it, it's a triumvirate, but it also looks a little bit like this 96-year-old can't make it to Parliament. So I'm going to say my 73-year-old son is going to need his son's help, and you can't see it on my posh sheet either, really. It doesn't feel entirely like they're PRing some sort of transition towards Charles to me from a distance.
Well, also that he's not going to sit in her seat, and he's going to, I think, read it as the Queen would, so it will refer to, as she would have referred to, my government doing X, Y and Z.
Right.
But what this certainly isn't is some kind of transfer of powers. This is a kind of Plan B contingency for today only.
It's like a power play, if anything. You can go there and you can read my speech and tell everyone what I think about it.
I think you're being a bit cynical. This has been born out of some medical necessity rather than there being a sort of a dynasty or Dallas
But it's also
style.
not her speech, is it? I mean,
No,
it's
always
the
the
Queen's
government's
speech.
it's always the
government
government's
writes
speech.
it.
Exactly.
It's her speech. That speech will announce 38 bills, including laws aimed at easing the cost of living. Huge sigh goes up around the country as to whether or not that will work or what it will be. Boosting economic growth. Ministers will also recommit to tougher penalties for protest groups. It's also discussing the fact that there may be a tearing up, a bonfire of EU laws. I was listening on the radio this morning, and some people saying, actually, some of these things really work. We don't want to get shot of that because the alternative not having that is even less effective.
Yes.
I mean, any bonfire of red tape, I mean, it sounds great, and the implication is that it's going to bring about growth, but those regulations came to pass for a reason. You know, the European Court of Human Rights exists for a reason, for humans to have rights, and there's always two sides to this, really. Of course, we need growth, and it's going to be really difficult to get growth in light of the fact that post-Brexit, it's hard to come by. Growth comes from selling things. We've made our lives harder and so on. But I don't get too excited about this whole bonfire of red tape thing, because it gets rid of rules that exist to make, you know, poor people's lives better.
Yeah.
I think essentially the one thing that everybody wants to hear is some sort of help when it comes to the cost of living.
Well, of course. And also, this isn't a budget. This is a different thing because it's a legislative programme. I think from a political point of view, yeah, he needs to kind of reassert his Brexit credentials with trying to say we're moving forward from the EU, and that's what that legislation's about. But equally, if there isn't enough in there to reassure the public that this economic calamity heading fast down the tracks with inflation set to hit 10%, people want to know that the government is insulating them from the potential damage.
OK, let's talk. Let's keep it royal. Let's talk about Prince Harry trying his hand to acting. Now, I can't help. There's been lots of comments. I'll show a little clip of it now. I've actually not seen it yet myself, so I don't know. But I can't help but feel that whatever he tries his hand to now, it's labelled cringy, and I mean, it could well be. I'm about
I think you should prepare to cringe.
Oh, really? OK, I just feel like we're already of that mindset before we've even seen it.
Can I just say, I quite like this.
Well,
because it was the Harry of old, taking the Mickey and not
Yeah.
taking himself too seriously and having a bit of a laugh.
Should we have a look?
See,
I
think he's
quite
good.
nice.
And this is exactly what you
My
said.
point.
He can't do anything without people saying now, oh, that's just rubbish, that's rubbish. He's written off right to the word go, that's quite funny. And I don't think he's a bad actor.
No, and he didn't really do much.
No, I mean, I think if he does things that seem a bit ill thought out, then he merits criticism. If he does things that people enjoy, then he merits praise.
The sympathy I'd have for Prince Harry is different. Fundamentally, he's trying to make a career out of being someone who's from the royal family but getting on with their lives. The stuff's going to be cheaper than being a member of the royal family by its nature. He's not a terrible actor, but I cringed throughout the whole 4 minutes and 19 seconds of it.
Did you?
Did you?
Because of why?
Well, it was just... It's so forced. Like I say, you've got that undertone of kind of where he comes from in the first instance. What I would say to you is... I'm going to say something positive because I feel like I'm the only one being negative here. I'm going to buy myself a Girl Dad T-shirt. He's done a lot...
They're quite cute, aren't they? They're quite cute, aren't they?
Listen, we love balance. We love
Yeah,
balance.
absolutely.
Fine,
Yeah.
you say what you
You go
want to
for
say.
it.